Exactly how we fight a fire depends a lot on where it is. So let's take a look at some common locations where we might have to fight a fire. Planning for firefighting and realistic drills should cover all of the areas we have on board ship. With a cargo fire, the accommodation has to be protected from smoke and toxic fumes. Another factor with location is restricted access. It is important for a firefighter to gain easy access when directly fighting a fire, and always to have a clear, easy escape path. Electrical systems and fuel supplies must also be considered. Firefighting may take place near to electrical power. Unfortunately, every year, professional firefighters are electrocuted. The danger comes from the use of water dispensed via a hose or portable fire extinguisher if the system is still live. Electrical systems can also involve high voltage, which is very dangerous. An electrical motor or switchboard fire could occur with power still present. In an area where firefighting is to take place, electrical systems should be isolated before water is used. On a vessel, there is lots of fuel stored for propulsion. When we consider the fire tetrahedron, we see that this is one of the 4 elements required for the combustion process. When a fire breaks out involving leaking fuel, systems should be shut down to stop the supply of oil to a fire by using local or remote stops. Although fighting an accommodation fire is aided by the number of fire doors and any fixed extinguishing system, there are a number of factors that must be considered. These include the number of spaces to which the fire can spread and the number of obstacles preventing people from moving around. People can become trapped in their cabins due to smoke in an alleyway, and flashovers are common when a door is opened with a fire behind it. Remember, the bridge is the control point of the vessel, and this is where firefighting activity is normally coordinated from. As it is at the top of the accommodation, smoke and heat from the fire will rise towards the bridge. Accommodation fires often start small and are noticed before they take hold. If allowed, a successful initial attack using a portable fire extinguisher may be effective. If they are too large to fight with a handheld extinguisher and a fixed system is fitted, then activate the fixed system and also deploy backup fire parties with hoses for boundary cooling. Before tackling a fire in a cabin using fire hoses, make sure that all sources of electricity have been switched off. The hose party should then stay low down in the alleyway. Crack open the door and direct a spray nozzle towards the deck head to cool hot gases. Close the door to allow the steam produced to smother the fire. Further applications of spray reduce the hot gases until it is safe to open the door and attack the fire directly. Class A fires are common in a cabin, and so you must ensure that all heat is removed. Otherwise, it can easily reignite. An engine room has many inaccessible spaces and steel surfaces to gather and conduct heat. Smoke, gases and heat are often free to rise inside the generally large volume found in an engine room. Engine room fires are usually associated with burning oil, often caused by a broken pipe union or spilled oil. This type of fire can escalate very quickly. With heat and large amounts of thick black smoke, an engine scavenge space or boiler economizer fire can be very ferocious, with burning metal at very high temperature. With an engine room fire, loss of firefighting and electrical supply capability is a real threat if emergency systems are not started. If an engine room fire is noticed soon after starting, a small fire can be attacked with a portable fire extinguisher. If not, the space should be evacuated and all personnel should be accounted for. Fuel supplies should be shut off, ventilation stopped, flaps and doors closed, and machinery stopped. The fixed extinguishing system should then be used. If a gas is used for this, there is very little cooling effect, so we need to allow time for the engine room to cool down. Otherwise, reignition may take place when we try and re-enter. A fixed water spray system both smothers a fire and reduces the temperature. Boundary cooling should be applied to the areas around the engine room, and temperatures monitored until it is obvious that the fire is out. If entering the engine room to tackle small fires, then enter from below, for instance from the shaft tunnel. Since hot air rises, this is likely to be the coolest part of the engine room, and there is also less risk of smoke and heat entering the accommodation. Teams should be wearing breathing apparatus and protect themselves with water spray from fire hoses. One special case of a fire in the engine room is a boiler economizer fire, where very high temperatures cause leaking water to separate into hydrogen and oxygen. This further fuels the fire, causing steel to burn. Water cannot be used to extinguish this type of fire. It is best left sealed up with water flow stopped and left to burn itself out. Boundary cool the areas outside the engine room around the exhaust uptakes to stop the fire spreading. On deck, fires can arise on oil and gas carriers, when spilled or leaking products ignite. On oil tankers, collisions often result in tanks being ruptured. Sparks can then cause the oil cargo to ignite. The potentially large volume of oil makes this sort of fire very difficult or impossible to extinguish. On a gas carrier, flange seal leaks that catch fire can be extinguished by turning off the flow of gas. Regardless of location, with any fire, the product transfer should be immediately stopped. In port, there are usually strict requirements that a terminal has in place, both to prevent and fight a fire. Again, small fires on deck can be tackled using portable extinguishers. But larger fires are best attacked using the fixed system. Deck fire monitors are capable of ejecting relatively heavy foam over a large distance, blanketing the deck. Accommodation blocks are often protected with a water spray curtain to stop them heating up. A cargo hold can be filled with one product, such as coal. Or it could contain several products, such as those seen on a breakbulk vessel. Any fire in a cargo hold can be deep-seated and present a number of difficulties. When a fire starts in closely packed objects, it is difficult to fight, as extinguishing media cannot get close to it. As with a cabin fire, opening a hatch lid or access door can cause a flashover. Lastly, it is difficult and dangerous to send firefighters into the hold space with a hose. The best course of action is to shut off ventilation, close flaps, and flood the space using the fixed extinguishing system. Boundary cooling is essential to stop heat passing through bulkheads into adjacent holds. Further considerations include keeping a reserve of extinguishing gas, as a hold fire can take several days or weeks to extinguish, and identifying explosive cargo and taking as many steps as possible to stop a fire from getting close to it. If there is any doubt about an explosion risk, all firefighters should be withdrawn from the scene. As the floor of a container is possibly made of wood, it can burn through in the event of a fire. The actions to take with a container fire will depend on its location, either on deck or in a hold. Boundary cooling should be immediately started to stop other containers from overheating and their contents catching fire. A hole can be made in the side of a container, where a suitable extinguishing medium can be added. Here is a reminder of the main learning points from this chapter. Our firefighting tactics depend on where the fire is, so realistic fire drills should be held for all types of location we have on the ship. Isolating electrical supplies in and around the area of a fire is essential to eliminate the risk of electric shock to the firefighting teams. Gas-based fixed firefighting systems for the engine room are effective at putting fires out, but have little cooling effect, so the space needs to be left closed up and boundary cooling applied. Any space where there has been a fire, especially if a gas firefighting system has been applied, will be deficient in oxygen, so a BA set should always be worn and enclosed space entry precautions taken.